folks, once again, another drawing tutorial. And I thought this time I would show you a little model. This is one of my favorite toys here, a Harry Potter model. Some of you probably have this. And what I wanted you to see here was, if you remember in some of the previous tutorials that I've been showing you and talking about, I was talking about how when you draw in dimensions, you need to sometimes actually see something that's dimensional. And so one of the wonderful things about toys today is that they are making them so well, with so much detail, that you can get a little figurine and draw from it. So I love this because you can see, the sculpt. It's a good sculpture for one thing. It's a nicely done. Um, but you can see how just me turning it around, you can see the different angles on the character's head and body and everything. So this has a lot of advantages if you're wanting to learn to draw things dimensionally. You can see how when you have things in a three-dimensional form, how something will change as you're looking at it. See, like you can see when you look at the character's face, say from this angle, you'll see how his eye that's closest to you looks a little bigger, doesn't it, than the one that's further away. I don't know if I can hold this. It's kind of hard to, let's see here, hold it straight. So you can see how the eye that's close to you looks like it's larger, doesn't it? And the eye that's further away on the other side is a little smaller. Notice, look at what the eyebrows are doing. The eyebrow that's closest to you looks a little bigger. The eyebrow that's further away is kind of wrapping around the head. And look at the mouth. Look at how the mouth looks bigger on one side, where the corner of the mouth converges, and then as you look at the other side, it's going away from you. And then as you turn it, now look what happens. Now you've got both eyes are about the same size, because they are in reality the same size roughly. And then as you turn further away, now you have the exact opposite. The eye that was small from the other angle is now big, and vice versa. The way they do the hair here, of course, is they do it in little clumps because they're sculpting it. And look at, here's other things to look at, the dimension. Look at the hand. His hand that's in the foreground, see, it looks bigger, does it not? And as you turn it, look at what happens to the perspective on the hand. This is what we call foreshortening. Is you turn the figure, the things that are further away look like they're on the other side of the body. You see how his hand in the back there is much smaller and it's further away. See? So, anyways, so I would encourage you to get yourself some toys to draw from, because there's a lot you can learn from seeing things in three dimensions. And like I say, since there's a lot of these toys are made so well today, when you go to the store to buy a toy or wherever you get, or if you're lucky enough even say to get a little sculpture of some sort, whatever it happens to be, draw from it. And then it's all of the things that I've been talking to you about, like here, for instance, the shape, and drawing the lines around the shape, and how it makes, the eyes that are closer or bigger, the eyes that are further away, or so on and so forth. It's like all of these are things that now they start to kind of make a little sense to you. And that's how you're going to achieve the dimensions that you want, and the three dimensions that you're trying to create in the drawing. Because you're drawing, as I mentioned before, on a flat surface, on a two-dimensional surface, on a flat surface, you are creating, when you draw, the illusion of three dimensions. And that's what these drawings are that you're looking at here. They create the illusion of three dimensions, because they're lines, literally lines, on paper on a flat surface, and you're breaking things down into shapes that you can then visualize better. And the reason for breaking down the shapes the way I talked about, when you're drawing lines around the form, is to get it in your head that this is a rounded shape or a rounded form, very similar to something that if you were sculpting it using clay, that's how you would achieve that. Except the difference is that you're doing it on a flat surface on a piece of paper. You're drawing the dimensions and creating the illusion of it being dimensional. So, this is something that you practice and you practice and you work at it and you work at it. The great animators at Disney and Warner Brothers and MGM and all of the great studios that created cartoons for years, or have and are still creating cartoons, understand what I'm talking about in creating this sense of dimension. A lot of the cartoons you see today, of course, are kind of designed in a more flat way. Maybe is to expedite production, whatever. But if you are trying to create this three-dimensional feel to your work, then this is what you have to do. And you have to practice at it over and over and over. And so, like I said, maybe get yourself a model. Also another thing that's good to do is to get some clay and sculpt something. Sculpt something and put eyes and a nose and ears or whatever, and then draw it. And don't worry. And if you sculpt something, don't worry about it being crude. That doesn't matter. The important thing is that you're starting to try to train your mind to understand when you draw something, you turn it a little bit and you draw it from a different angle. What is it you're actually seeing? Because the idea is you're trying to get to a place where you understand what it is you're looking at. See, that's the trick. You understand that what you're looking at is dimensional. You understand that because it is the understanding that gives you the sense of dimension, and that then gives you the strongest kind of drawing you can make. And and also too, it's a good idea, as I've shown you here. You could start with the head, and then you build the body and go on and so on, go on and go on, so on and so forth. That way, different characters have different body structures, and in some other tutorials, I'll talk about character design a little bit. I might talk about different types of characters or whatever. But the idea of creating this illusion is really where you want to practice your drawing to start to get it to a place where you're feeling that dimension in the drawing and you're seeing it and you're understanding it. Don't worry so much about trying to make your drawings look like someone else's drawings. That's actually can be a stumbling block for you, because it's more important for you to understand the process and work in your own style, work the way you work. It's going to be enough for you just to be able to get the perceptions and the illusion down as accurately as you know how to do it. As you progress as an artist, you'll find that studying different styles of artists can be very helpful. I find myself doing this a lot because I like to look at what artists do, different artists, and I like to see how they solve problems. I use it in my classes when I teach art. I use the terminology solving problems, because what I mean by that is I mean that artists do different things different ways in order to achieve a certain result. Like one of the things that I used to have a lot of trouble with when I would be drawing figures, like human-like cartoon figures or human-esque type cartoon figures, was drawing the hands and feet, trying to get them right. And so I always enjoyed looking at artists and how other artists how do they draw hands? How do they draw feet? Because what I could see, and sometimes by studying different artists, is how what I would say, solved certain problems, with the hands. How did they get the hands to work a certain way to look like they were grabbing things or whatever it was? And that can be very, very helpful. When I was at Disney Studios learning about animation, um, um, we used to study how the animators, some of the great older animators, would draw certain things, because by studying how they did what they did, or the particular approach, or even the way their drawings looked, would have an effect on how we might draw our drawings, so as to get the same effect, really. But at the same time, is while we imitated what we saw them do, it also helped us to that added to what we knew. So then when we would draw our own characters, we could then implement what we learned or what we'd seen other artists do in our own work. And that's always a very, very helpful thing to do as an artist. Because you can learn a lot from other artists just by looking at their work. Um, Also, you can learn a lot by imitating artists' work, because once again, you pick things up. Um, and I do this all the time with different artists. I look to see how do they draw faces or eyes, or how do they solve certain problems with certain types of poses. Say if a character is depressed or something, I may look to see, like, how does this artist handle that problem, or this character is really excited or whatever. How did this other artist handle that with one of their characters. Um, so when you look at other artists' work, um, look to see how they solve certain problems, or how they do certain types of pictures, and how they do it, or how it looks. Maybe not so much how they do it. I guess maybe that's not a good way, because when you look at something, that doesn't mean you know how they did it step by step. What you're looking at is the solutions that they come up with. Um, like I said, like say so how someone draws hands. There may be a very specific thing they're doing. Maybe there's a way they draw the hand or the fingers or whatever, and how that maybe it facilitates things for them when they're drawing the hands. You maybe. And sometimes you're lucky enough to actually meet the artist that did that and pick their brain a little bit. I did a lot of that, and I found that was also very helpful, because sometimes they could tell me, yeah, I did this or that, or I was looking at this or that or whatever, and this is how I came up with this, or this is how I solved this problem or that problem, whatever. Um, See yourself as a student that is continuously learning, and it just makes the experience of being an artist that much more fun. And over time, like I said, you're looking to become. Uh, I say you look to become competent as an artist. To I think you're always improving. I don't know that I'd say I wouldn't say, okay, you've arrived at the the highest level or whatever. Yeah, or maybe you have. Like I said, everybody's kind of going to be different on this. But I look at it like I'm still learning. I like to think I don't like to think I know I'm still learning. But there is a level of competency. There's a level that you get to, where it's a lot. It's easy. You know how to solve these problems when you're told, you're asked to create something. You know how to solve that problem. You know how to do it. You don't have to think about it too much. You can sit down and immediately create the drawing that you need to create the way you need to create it. So it's a highly individual way of doing things. So all right, so I'm going to leave it here at this. I mean, I think that um, um, drawing things in dimensions is something that I may come back to in a video in the future. I'll probably go on to something a little different now. However, I think these 5 tutorials that I've done will at least get you started in a direction, to get at least a reasonable handle in your head around how it is that we do what we do when we're creating the illusion of 3 dimensions in a drawing. And this will at least, hopefully propel you in a direction to get you going in a direction. Um, um, as I mentioned before, if you have questions or comments or something you want to ask about it, feel free to do so um, in the comment section. I believe these last few videos I have had the comment section luckily properly activated, so you would be able to leave a comment. Also, too, if you are interested, I do actually do classes in art and animation, character design. Um, so animation, character designing, and storyboarding are three different classes I do. I do one-on-one classes. If you're interested, um, you'll see some information in the description, I believe, on the video about that, and I'll put that there if you're interested in taking some classes. I teach my classes online through Google Chat, Google Meet, and so if you are interested in the classes, you'll find some information in the description, and feel free to take a look. If you want to get a hold of me for a class, my classes are not very expensive. I try to keep my classes very inexpensive, and I have things set up to make it easy for people to take art classes, animation classes, so on and so forth. I will be doing some animation tutorials, by the way, as a part of what I'm doing here, and talk about that in the same way that I'm doing this. So, all right. So there you go. All right. Well, hey, have a beautiful day, and carry on. Be thankful for the gift that God's given you. Those of you who are you know you have been given the talent from God to draw, and have a propensity to do it. Thank God for that. That's a beautiful thing to have. But anybody can draw. Anybody can learn basics, and so take advantage of what's out there. There's a lot of good books and instruction on art. Like I said, I will do what I can and share what I can. I'm very interested in helping individuals. And like I said, my one-on-one classes, I particularly like doing the one-on-one classes as opposed to multiple people in the class because everybody learns at a different pace. And while I'm limited at the number of one-on-one classes that I can do, um, I prefer doing it that way because, like I said, everybody learns at a different pace. So that way, I can give you the individual what specifically you need, and I can tailor the class towards you so that it's going to be more beneficial to you. My classes are usually about some of my classes are 10-week classes, some of them are 15-week classes. It depends on what it is I'm teaching. So, all right, but anyway, I'll give you some information about that in the description. Have a beautiful day, and once again, don't forget, Jesus is Lord.